Hey folks, it's Jake here at Canadian Cutting Edge. Welcome to another knife review video. Today we've got a knife by HX Outdoors. If you've been around my channel for a while, you know that I really like HX Outdoors. We've got a D2 steel blade, G10 handle scales, a very stylish knife that we've got here, and it's a liner lock flipper. Action's really good due to ball bearings, of course, and a nice substantial, well, I mentioned that, nice substantial blade, a upsweep and then a drop point, great big belly of a blade, just a short little section here that's flat. Fills the hand very well, and my hands are large, right on the borderline of extra large, between 10 and 11 in the European glove sizes for men's gloves, and there's a good reason I really like this knife. And if you get one of these, I suspect you're going to love it as well. A lot of cool things about the, well, maybe not a lot of, there's a few cool things about this knife, and just the basics about this knife are just very good as well. It's a well-made machine, but you want to know the specifics, so stick around for the full review of the ZD-031 coming at you right now. Okay, what do you think of this guy? Let me just start by saying I like this knife. I don't know. I say that about almost every knife, don't I? I am one of these guys. Maybe I'm kind of, I don't know. Am I unique? Maybe. I honestly do like almost every knife that I come across. And that's, I don't know. I just have a fascination with knives and I really like them. I have a firm commitment to being completely honest in my reviews. And so if I keep saying that I like every knife that comes around, some people definitely will be questioning my integrity. And, that makes complete sense. But in my own defense, I love knives and I really like just about any knife. So let's talk about this knife in particular. I bought this knife from my own shekels, Canadian dollars, and got it sent to me through GearBest. And I've got links down below where you can buy this knife, and you can buy it from GearBest and other stores. Links are right straight below here. Click on where it says show more. If you're watching on a mobile phone, then down below this corner, there's a tiny little black triangle, and you click on that and it'll expand it, and you'll see the links where you can buy this using my links. My referral links. If you use my referral links, I do get a tiny bit of a commission. It's your way of thanking me for doing this review. Unless you want to thank me even more publicly, you can become a Patreon supporter, and I would appreciate that tremendously. And many of you guys are Patreon supporters, and that is a very good thing. I appreciate it. On this knife, we've got D2 steel, and every knife of HX Outdoors that I've tested, and I've tested a lot of them very thoroughly, I 100% believe that this is a genuine D2 blade. It says HX Outdoors up there on the flat. And they've got their Chinese label right there. And there's the part number ZD-031. I don't like that much writing all over a knife, but thankfully this writing isn't too bold. It's not too big and dark, and it's kind of small, so I don't mind it too terribly much. We've got some nice jimping on the spine of the blade here. It adds a lot of extra grip. And there's a little bit of a chamfer on the edge of the steel here, and on this edge as well. It gets a little bit bigger up there. And so it comes up, and then it drops down. Really like this blade shape an awful lot for efficient cutting. We've got a really high flat grind, which we call a saber grind, and that's also very efficient for cutting. The flipper tab becomes a good guard right there. We've got a bit of a sharpener's choil so that you can sharpen the knife right up to the end of the blade and not mess up the plunge or the ricasso. The ricasso is this flat part of the knife right around the handle. And the flipper tab is right here, and they've cut it out to help it lose weight. It's a nice and big flipper tab. You've got almost flat at the top, so you can push straight down and the blade comes flying open, or you can use the light switch method where I push that way or pull that way and the knife blade comes flying open. So either type of attempt to open the blade works quite well. You've got no jimping on this knife except for right there. Nothing else on the back here on the spine or anything. We've got a back spacer that goes between these liners. We've got some skeletonizing on here. Not enough. It needs more skeletonizing. I'll show you the skeletonizing later on. But the back spacer comes out like this. But when the handle comes down, the back spacer back here actually goes up. And so there's a huge hole there to put a lanyard on of just about any type. And then, it comes back. It's easy to clean in there. There's a little bit of a relief cut right there on the lock bar arm. And that's because the liners are quite thick. One cool thing about this is most knives have got a cutout right here so you can reach your thumb in and unlock the blade. Through the liner lock. Instead of doing that, what they did here was they had the liner lock come out a little bit. And so that's somewhat unique. You don't see that very often. They do have a little bit of a milling on there, so it feels soft. You can see it on this angle. See how it's the thickness of the steel there and more narrow there, and that's because you got a little bit of a cutout right there. It's very easy to unlock this blade. No problem at all. You've got G10 that's highly CNC machined. So we've got the flat here of it, and that's the full thickness there. So the full thickness is right here and here, where you can measure the blade, and then this goes down, and it goes down back here, and there's a big chamfer here, and all the way around. It's very, very milled. You've got 4 lines milled out there, and what all that amounts to is a pretty good grip on this knife without being overly grippy. So the handle feels good in the hand, and it's not overly grippy at all, but it's grippy enough to be an effective carry. The angle back here makes it a good grippiness for a reverse hold. You can even do the reverse. A lot of knives you can't hold this way comfortably, but this one you can if you needed to do some pull cutting or pull cutting this way. But generally, you're going to hold the knife either like this or a pinch hold like this up here, which is really good with the depth of the blade this way. Really easy to hold it that way. We've got a pocket clip that is that sort of snake head shape there. So it comes down narrow and then widens out a little bit right there. And then the head of the, let's go up here. Let's see if we can get this to focus up here. You've got the head here of the pocket clip bent over a little bit so that it's not hot on the hand when you're holding it, and the pants just slide in there very well. You've got about 1/2 of an inch of knife sticking out, almost 2 centimeters, not quite, sticking out when you've got it in your pocket. I'll show you that later on. No option for a right hand pocket clip, which I don't like very much. I wish it was right and left, but a nice tip-up pocket clip, what you have there. So let's open this knife up and take a look on the inside so I can show you the ball bearings, and I'll show you how skeletonized this is. I wish it was more skeletonized. I wish it was more skeletonized, but it is what it is, and it's very functional, and those ball bearings work very, very well. The detent is very good. Lockup is solid. No blade play side to side. No blade play up and down. Lockup, great. You can see right here where the lockup is. I'll give you a good close-up shot of the lockup right there. It's pretty much perfect for what I want to see on a knife. We've got these pivot screws that have some decoration on there. It almost looks like a danger radiation kind of sign. But there's a Torx screw head hole right there. These are Torx as well. I believe these are T6 and this is T8. I wish all the screw heads were T8. I don't like T6 at all. So that's that. Let's give you all of the dimensions now. Let's zoom in for some of that. We've got a cutting edge of 8.94 centimeters. That's 3.52 inches. The blade length is a little bit shorter because the blade ends right here at the handle, 8.64 centimeters, 3.4 inches. The blade thickness is 3.55 millimeters, that's 0.1395 inches. The blade depth is just over an inch, 2.69 centimeters, 1.06 inches. The thickness of the edge behind the grind, 0.52 millimeters, that's 0.0205 inches. And that's a nice thickness. It's thick enough to be very durable and thin enough to be a great slicer. The grind angle, oh boy, this is going to be a con. The grind angle is very, very strange on this one. Right here at the tip on this side, it is ground at almost 30 degrees. And for other spots, it's like 27.5 degrees. So I'm going to say 27.5 degrees on part of it. And then there's other spots where it's ground at 15.5 degrees. I like to see 20 degrees on both sides, even all the way across. So the grinding on this knife it's actually done fairly poorly. I was quite disappointed with the grind angle. But is it sharp? Yeah, it's sharp. You can cut just about anywhere you want with it. Close to the handle. This has got the factory edge after I've used it for a lot of testing. Closer up on the belly, cuts fine. Closer out to the end of the blade, it cuts fine right by the tip. If I can get control of it, it cuts there as well. So yeah, it cuts, but the grinding is just done very poorly. I will be regrinding this to 20 degrees all the way across. I will have to take a fair bit of steel on part of it close to the tip here, and I'll just have to, redo it, which isn't that big of a deal. I really don't mind that much. I find most knives have got a problem with the grind angle because they're ground by hand, and on budget knives like this one, they just don't have the time to do it perfectly. Let's talk about the rest of the dimensions. Handle length, 12.25 centimeters, 4.82 inches. The grip area, 8.9 centimeters, 3.5 inches. The handle thickness, not counting the pocket clip, is 1.47 centimeters, 0.585 inches. So a fair bit over half of an inch, but a lot of it is under half of an inch as well. The handle depth, right here where this screw is, 2.7 centimeters, 1.07 inches. The total length of this knife from tip to the end of the handle, 20.7 centimeters, 8.15 inches. It weighs 144 grams, 5.1 ounces. That's where the skeletonizing could have made this knife just a little bit lighter. There's some guys that won't carry a knife that's over 5 ounces, and this one's 5.1. Well, if you're that picky, take it apart and drill some more holes in the liners, and you can get it under 5 ounces pretty easily. But there you go. This HX Outdoors knife is highly recommended in my opinion. How much does it cost? I got mine from GearBest. In fact, GearBest also sent me one to review, so I've got two of these. So one of these I will either sell or give to one of my Patreon supporters. My Patreon supporters are guys that give me at least $2 a month, and I give one good knife away every month to one of my Patreon supporters chosen at random. The unique features of this knife: liner lock extension right here. That's kind of unique. You don't see that very often. Pros and cons: I really like this blade shape, the general edge of it, the flat saber grind here. I wouldn't mind if it was a full flat grind, but it's a really nice grind. It cuts very well. It's very comfortable in hand. And that lanyard option, I thought when I looked at it, I thought that would be uncomfortable, but it has not been uncomfortable at all. So it's really good that way. Easy deployment of the blade. The action of the blade is very good. And the detent is great. Flipper tab, you can open it either way, push down or pull back. Great action. All torque screws, that's good, even though these are T6s. I really wish they were T8s, as I said earlier. The jimping on the back of the spine of the blade here is extra grippy. It's really nice. You can use your finger forward ahead like this to do some cutting. I don't recommend it because you actually have to rest your finger on some of the cutting edge right there. And if you don't, then you have to be super careful and try to keep it away from there. And you're going to be concentrating on the wrong thing, and you're going to end up cutting yourself somewhere else or something. So it really is advised to put your hand back here, or if you're doing something delicate, do that pinch grip and, cut that way if you need to. But don't use this like a forward choil unless you're going to grind this flat and dull right here. And that's just a recommendation. You can do what you want with your knife. No problems that way at all. What are the cons on here? Well, I wish it was slightly lighter. Even 4.5 ounces would be really good. More skeletonizing would have been easy for them to do, and they should have done that, in my opinion. More colors would be great. I wouldn't mind seeing this in, a taupe or, a blue or some other colors. And I really do wish that there was a left side pocket clip. There's no reason not to put one on here, or holes for it. It really would be good for it. And I really wish that they would have made it sit a little deeper. They could have easily brought it up 1/8 of an inch. And every 1/8 of an inch makes a difference when you've got this kind of pocket clip. Or if they would have done a deep carry pocket clip, that would do it too. So let's see what it looks like in a pocket. So if we zip it into the pocket, it holds well, and it goes in quite well. It's not too obvious that you're having a knife in your pocket, but it does show a bit. Just over 1/2 of an inch is showing, a little less than 2 centimeters, and not bad at all. The clip holds very well. It's a good design. What do you think of this knife? If you want to get one, I would ask you to consider using my links. If you, what do you think of this? Please answer me in the comments. I will be soon able to reply and respond to most of the comments. I will never again promise that I'm going to respond to all the comments. It just does take an awful lot of time. But I'm back from my summer trip to visit my family and my wife's family. And so I have more time now to look at more of the comments. But if you definitely want to get in contact with me, email me at canadiancuttingedge@gmail.com, and I will reply to you if you email me. Otherwise, I try to answer the comments, and I try to do it in a timely fashion, but not always able to do that. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. And remember, guys, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.